Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining the European Microfinance Week 2021 session on FinTech partnership to strengthen financial inclusion. It's a pleasure. We are delighted to have with us today, and I'm going to introduce them further just after. So Mrs. Gayatri Murthy from SIGAP, Manon Loiseau from the Luxembourg House of FinTech, and Megan McCormick from OSE, based in Ghana, and Kofi Eba Mieza Pole from People Pension Trust, based as well in Ghana. This session is not a webinar, it's a meeting. So feel free, we wanted this session to be as much as interactive as possible. You can switch on your camera if you want to ask a question. During the discussion, the first discussion, I will ask you just to turn on your micro if you don't speak. But if you would like to ask a question, you can raise your hand and ask a question directly to our panelists today. So my name is Julie Bouchat. I am Executive Manager of the Inclusive Finance Network Luxembourg, which is the national network for inclusive finance based in Luxembourg City and gathering all the Luxembourgish-based organization from the public, private, and civil society sectors working on inclusive finance here in Luxembourg. e-MFP is one of our members, and we are member of e-MFP. They are also one of our neighbors here in the building at the House of Microfinance. So let me introduce you briefly to our speaker today. So and start with Megan McCormick. She's the co-founder and the CEO of OSE. She's passionate about designing solutions that bring real value to customers and community. She has spent her career focused geographically on Africa markets and functionally on innovation strategy. She started her work as a community economic development volunteer in the Peace Corps in Guinea. And during her service, she founded Guinea's first business accelerators. She's currently the co-founder of OSE. She will talk more about OSE and further what is OSE doing exactly in Ghana and in inclusive finance. It's a fintech company that equips African entrepreneurs to make data-driven decisions to both improve their business performance and access capital. Megan works also as an innovation strategist at Dublin, the innovation unit of Monitor and Deloitte, and she has an MBA from MIT, and also she was a fellow for, she has a Legatum Fellow for Entrepreneurship in Emerging Markets. Our next entrepreneurs and speaker today is Kofi Eba Mieza Pole. He's the Chief Operation Officer of People Pension Trust in Ghana as well. And Kofi has over a decade diversified experience in a social security administration position at Social Security and National Insurance Trust, and 5-year experience in the financial industry. In 2012, Kofi was appointed General Manager for Universal Pension Master Trust. And at Universal Pension Master Trust, Kofi built a focus mindset specifically among the staff for the smooth implementation of the company's second-tier pension policies and program. In the financial industry, Kofi worked as a general manager for GISLO Financial Services Limited as well. Our third speaker is Manon Loiseau. She's head of marketing at the Loft, the Luxembourg House of Financial Technology, and she's a manager as well of the Catapult Inclusion Africa program, a startup development program for inclusive African fintech, and Manon will talk more about this program later. And finally, Gayatri, she's a financial sector specialist working at SIGAP, and she has spent a decade researching and consulting on what low-income people want and how digital technology can help fill the gap to financial inclusion. So Gayatri also specializes in training financial institutions to build customer-centric business model. So this gives me the opportunity to give the floor to Gayatri to provide you, to start to answer two first questions. If she could give us an overview of the challenge facing fintech, concrete fintech working in the financial inclusion sector today, and how these challenges can be addressed. So Gayatri, I give you the floor to share your thought about these two questions.
Thank you, Julie, and thanks everyone for joining this session. So I'll just share a few thoughts on the question Julie has asked me. What I'm sharing here is based on about 4 or 5 years of work with inclusive fintechs that CGAP has been doing. The way we've worked with fintechs is we've kind of partnered with them and done a bunch of pilots and learned kind of from the ground up the challenges they face. Really happy to say that one of the companies present here, People's Pension Trust, is a company we also worked with. So really happy to see you, Kofi. So let me just share a couple of slides on the questions that Julie, you've asked. So give me a second. Okay. So I think from the experience we've seen fintechs having, especially those that are targeting low-income communities and existing in emerging markets and developing markets, you know, the challenges come down to pretty common buckets that may not be news to you, but the way they are challenges are what we need to understand. So first of all, funding is scarce in most emerging markets, but it's also not exactly often suited to what fintechs need. First of all, the needs fintechs have for capital changes quite dramatically by their business model type. So the way you would fund a fintech working on credit for SMEs is very different from how you would fund a fintech trying to work on retirement savings. And these needs really differ not only by the business model that they are operating, but also the stage of their development. So when a fintech is at a very early stage, especially those that are doing complex products like insurance or savings that haven't been proven quite well yet for low-income communities, their needs for capital require a bit of patience and kind of a longer curve of impact that often funders are not able to provide in exactly the right way. And if they understand the needs, the instruments may not be as clearly available. So providing patient capital, providing blended finance options, there is a lot of competition that fintechs face on this, and a lot of them may struggle, even if they find initial funding, when they grow, their needs might change drastically. Another key factor is whether there are the right market conditions in place for these fintechs to, in fact, put the operations in place that help them reach low-income people. So what do I mean by that? When kind of fast, reliable payments infrastructure is absent, the fintech's business models may often suffer, and the cost efficiencies they would like to put in place may not be possible. And that's why a huge push from what our insight shows us is that we focus not only on individual fintechs as a financial inclusion sector, but we also look at some of these market conditions. So besides payments infrastructure, I think in the absence of having some key components like digital ID, smartphone penetration, and cash in, cash out networks, fintech business models often struggle to scale and struggle to serve their customers reliably and cost effectively. When you are a low-income person, let's say you are a cocoa farmer looking for pensions, it's very hard to kind of trust in new companies. And if the new companies can't offer services that are reliable, there is often a kind of chicken and egg problem that happens. So we really advocate for, one of the key challenges is, can we have stable policy environments where cost of serving people doesn't change drastically? Finally, partnerships. It's really important that fintechs, most of them need to partner either directly with financial institutions like banks or large insurance underwriters, or they need to partner with kind of sector support organizations, non-profits that are in connection with low-income communities. And these partnerships are often hard to forge because fintechs tend to be new, small, they are relatively unknown, and they must prove themselves before large partnerships can happen. But often partnerships are the key to getting to the scale, especially if we're trying to reach populations like smallholder farmers, women, etc. Today, given these challenges, is there a good market response? I would say not fully. It's very clear that funding for fintech is rising. In fact, if you track the last 10 to 12 years, fintech funding has been on the rise. But our research shows that it's largely focused on proven business models or kind of larger companies. So there is a lot of challenge that smaller actors or smaller funders or kind of incubators face in being sustainable themselves. So it may not be that the largest funders provide funding to the smallest fintechs, but even the presence of kind of incubators and organizations like them needs to be improved. Funding needs change fundamentally, but actually funding instruments are pretty blunt. So we have the same kind of equity and other kinds of grants available, but debt capital is very hard to get. Patient capital for companies like who do insurance and pensions, very hard to get. And finally, the factors that I mentioned, market conditions, policy changes, very little funding goes to that. So like we focus a lot on individual fintechs, but some of the large funders also need to focus on market conditions, payments infrastructure, and supporting those kinds of facilities. So finally, I'll end by saying, maybe giving just 3 ideas on what's needed to really catalyze fintech and making sure that fintech serves low-income communities and has the impact that I know that a lot of that, both the founders present here representing their companies have that intent. And I think it's these kind of points that I mentioned are more about how we can support great organizations like them. I think one point is really understanding that we need to change the funding instruments available and diversify them. And the instruments that are available should really be cognizant of the different stages these companies are in. So for instance, you can't ask a very early stage savings company to show dramatic impact on low-income people in its first 2 years of operations. It happens slowly, and even their business model gets stabilized slowly. So how can we support innovative models like that? We must then, as we fund larger fintechs, change our impact expectations. Can we go beyond having 1 or 2 companies to actually crowding in investors, diversifying the business model? So when you think of products like credit, which are a little more mature today than, let's say, insurance, our goal should change from not only funding individual companies, but making sure the system of digital credit is stable, safe, that the things we're offering low-income people are not just, unsafe products, but also ensuring that there's a good replicability and stability in the market. I think today, if there are any funders present in the room, one message I have is how can we coordinate better? There are roles that organizations like CGAP play in kind of discovering new business models. I know that organizations like the Loft present here help catalyze and as you say, catapult models up into being proven, visible, and then other funders take over, right? And we need to have a coordinated, systematic approach so that we're not replicating, but we're also filling the right gaps that today exist for several fintechs, except the very big and prominent ones. Finally, I think today we're still not in a place where we understand the impact of fintech, and lessons sharing is very important. I think if we have better metrics on what works. So if companies and organizations like us who are supporting fintechs early on share more lessons, I think we help crowd in investors and we help crowd in an atmosphere that's more supportive for these fintechs. So that's all I'll say for now. Happy to answer any questions and I'll stop sharing. Thanks.
Thank you, Gayatri. Thank you. Yes, indeed, a more coordinated approach was the key message also that helped me also to jump on the next, to see a concrete, you mentioned Catapult, and the work done at the level here in Luxembourg at the level of the Loft, which try and work on promoting this coordinated approach. So Manon, could you please introduce Catapult? The Loft has been aware of this challenges since the Loft is not only working on inclusive finance, but on fintech in general. So could you please tell us where does come from the idea of working specifically with fintech, working in inclusive finance, and the idea of designing a program specifically targeting fintech? And then we will jump with PPT and Ose, which are former catapulters that can explain what they are doing concretely. Manon.
Yes, thank you, Julie. Thank you, Gayatri, and hello to everybody. So my presentation is going to be quick because I think, like Gayatri said, collaboration is at the beginning of everything that we do. And I really want to give the floor to both Megan and Kofi to present what they do. So very shortly, I'm going to share with you my presentation. If you see that, no, not yet. Okay, sorry, 2 seconds. Okay. Do you see my screen? Do you see my PowerPoint now?
No, we see your Word document.
So how do I change that? Okay.
When you hit share,
here, there you go. So okay. you see my PowerPoint now.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, it's fine.
So yeah, just few words on the Loft. So the Loft, like you said, Julie, is a public-private foundation based in Luxembourg. We are basically the fintech hub for Luxembourg, and we do many things. But one of our core, let's say, focus is on financial inclusion. The rationale being that we strongly believe that financial technology and startup working with financial technology are one of the best way to complete financial inclusion. That was the starting point, and so that's why we have built this acceleration program at the Loft. It's called Catapult Inclusion Africa. That's a program that is supported locally by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Direction for Cooperation, but also by many local actors. And of course, InFiNe and Julie, there's a partner from day one, but also, and I want to salute Gayatri from CGAP. That was one of the first one to support us as well in 2018 with the first program where actually Gayatri even delivered a workshop. And so the objective of this acceleration program is really to onboard fintech that are based in Africa or operating in Africa. I would say that we have 80% of the fintech that we are working that are based in Africa, 20% that are based in other countries but operating in Africa. And we want to work with them, accelerate them, because once again, we strongly believe that what they do, the product that they develop, is a way to concretely foster financial inclusion in Africa. And we want also to create bridge between those businesses in Africa and Europe, and especially Luxembourg, the Luxembourg Financial Center, because we also believe that those fintech are really presenting some of top-notch solutions that could be completely leveraged in Luxembourg, in Europe, and we want to showcase what they do on the ground. And yeah, with a bit of perspective on the program now, we have run the program for 3 years, so 2018, 2020, and even 2021. So the 2021 edition was a complete digital edition, so there was a challenge, but it worked really well. And in 2018 and 2020, we physically invited the FinTech in Luxembourg. And today, I think that's the thing that's working the best. And that's why we wanted also to really focus on OSE and People, Patient, Trust, is that it's much more than an acceleration program. It's really became a community that now is gathering kind of like 80 people and 38 FinTech. They are continuing to discuss and work together and potentially partner together, and really at the aim of creating bridges once again between Africa, Europe, and Luxembourg. So you see here a few pictures of some of our catapulters. So Megan is here. You have Hilda, who's from Pezesha, is in Kenya, that has won the Catapult in 2020. Some of you also may recognize maybe Simon Cheval from Oko Finance, operating in Mali and Togo. There's quite a well-known insurtech. And so very proud to work with this community. And so I think now I'm going to pause, because the most interesting part of this is the actual business. So Kofi and Megan, thank you so much again for being with us today. So before maybe we deep dive, just a few words on, can you present respectively OSE and People, Patient, Trust. So maybe Megan first.
Sure. Thank you. And I have to say, it was lovely seeing the pictures of the old catapulters, because even though it's been, I mean, about 2 calendar years, but it feels like 10 life years since we were all together in Luxembourg. The ones from my cohort, I'm still basically all in touch with, whether it's directly for business or because they're at a further stage than us. I can reach out and ask questions like, what did you do when you got to this point? So it was really nice to see that presentation. I'm Megan McCormick. I'm the co-founder and CEO of OSE, which is a Ghana-based fintech company serving micro, small, and medium enterprises across Ghana, Nigeria, and the continent. And OSE helps these business owners form the habit of digital record keeping so that they generate data that they can use to make better business decisions and access capital. It's exciting that over the last 3 years that we've had businesses using our technology. 97% of those who are highly active on the platform are growing, profitable, or both. So we all know kind of spiritually that keeping records makes your business stronger, but we're now seeing it prove out into the data, and that we've seen that once we start lending to these companies, they're serious business owners, so they pay back. So we started lending during COVID, and we've maintained a 0% default rate for the past almost 2 years. So that is OSE. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Megan. Kofi, a few words on People, Patient, Trust.
Thank you very much. So People's Pension Trust was incorporated in 2016. By 2014, we commenced business in 2016. To give a bit of a background, in Ghana, we have over 10 million informal sector workers. Across West Africa, we are talking about 480 million. Globally, we are talking over 1.8 billion workers. Now, these are people who basically do not have pension products that they are on. And therefore, they are the most vulnerable when it comes to old age poverty. What People Pension Trust is trying to do is to educate both the formal and particularly the informal sector to get a pension, and so that we can help reduce old age poverty. It's been very interesting the past few years. I must say, I say this always with a mixed feeling. COVID has been good and has been bad. Through COVID, we lost our founder, but COVID has also pushed us to do things that probably have taken us 3, 4, 5 years to do. I say that last year around this time, where digital collection of our contributions was about 20%. Today, we are talking about 74% of our contribution coming through digitally, working closely with other financial and fintech companies. In fact, I know I have an issue with Megan, because what we are also trying to do is to help build the capacity of the informal sector workers, so that they can earn more and save more. And this is where we think that we can partner with people like OZE, who then more or less help our members to keep good records, to be able to then go for probably credit, improve on their business, and be able to contribute more towards their old age retirement. Because we believe that when now is good, then the future can be better. Thank you.
Thank you, Kofi. So that you don't have an issue with Megan, you have a challenge. Megan, do you want to say something on this?
In Ghana, it's issue. In Ghana, it's issue.
In Ghana, it's okay. So then
we use very soft words in Ghana. Never have a problem with anyone.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that because when we were together in Luxembourg, I was seated in a dinner table with people from Ghana and people from Nigeria, and I remember some very strong discussion, right? So then, yeah, Kofi, you created the link. So I mean, you said, yeah, maybe some issue or challenges in Ghana. So what is the specificity of the Ghana market and the fintech in Ghana market? Because you are both based in Ghana. So yeah. What is your experience?
I think that basically it's improved within the past few years, but there's still more room for improvement. By and large, people are taking it on because if you look at the recent data we have, the mobile money circulation has improved over 78% from the last year to now. And so people are now buying into this digital way of doing things, paying money through digitally, remittances digitally, and all that. And this is where, for us, People's Pension Trust, this is where we think that we can leverage on it. Because see, we started by trying to do manual collection, going to the market, going to people. But then I like Gayatri's presentation. That really will make your cost of operation very high. Okay, and even scaling up becomes very difficult. But for example, currently, we have a partnership with EcoBank, one of the biggest banks in Ghana, where we are going to use their payment platform to both being able to register and being able to pay your contributions. So that's a huge step. Okay, we are currently relying on another fintech, Emergent, where basically through USSD, everybody can make payment and can register. Huge step. We already have partnership with Vodafone and Airtel Tigo, two of the telcos in Ghana, where again, we take advantage of their payment platform and their subscribers can easily register through that platform and also make payment through that platform. But one of the most interesting things that we have had in the past year is the recurrent payment, because pension is not people's mental calculation, and therefore people hardly think about pension. But if you have a system where automatically you sign on and say through your mobile wallet, your mobile phone wallet, every period which you choose, a certain amount of money will be swept into your pension account, then it becomes easy. You don't need to remind people. Eventually, people more or less automatically have the habit of doing that. Because let's face it, we are looking at people who do not have a regular income. And therefore, there's a need to have a way of making them put money down bit by bit. So it's been very interesting. And I can see that it's going to be more interesting because, again, the good thing is that the central bank is opening up to the fintech companies, unlike previously where there was a bit of issues in terms of where to place them. I can see Megan laughing.
Perhaps we can have Megan a point of view, and Megan, could you just see your point of view on that market and just explain OZE, what OZE in comparison to what PPT is doing, what type of product you propose to such organization like PPT, for instance, and database-driven solution. Could you explain a bit?
Sure,
and the specificity you are facing as well for you on your point of view? Sure.
So I'm breaking up a little bit. My connection's not great. So I hope that I'm answering the right question. But I would say, you know, Ghana as a fintech market, it has strengths and it has weaknesses. For example, like Kofi rightly said, we saw an explosion of the adoption of digital currency throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. So instead of necessarily fostering that and taking a long-term perspective, the government has come out of seemingly nowhere and contradicted themselves and are now saying there will be a 1.75% tax on all mobile money and digital transfers, bank transfers, like over 100 Ghana cedis, which is like $14 per day. So of course, that's not going to hit the poorest of the poor, because if you're earning $2 a day, you're not spending $14 a day. But I think it will reverse years of advances that we've made towards digital financial inclusion. And they're looking to use that money, not to future-proof Ghana's economy, but to pave our roads. And so I think we get excited about the small steps that we've taken in this country, and we overestimate the distance we've traveled and not realize how easy it is to undo years of behavior change. From the regulatory standpoint, there are some advances that the Bank of Ghana has made, for sure. It's getting better. But when I look at innovations around lending and getting capital into the hands of small business owners, the tiered system of money lenders license versus microfinance bank in Nigeria makes it a lot easier to experiment than in Ghana, where you can't even get a microfinance license now because they cleaned up the market and they don't want new ones. You have to acquire a microfinance institution really if you want to get that license. And so it makes it hard to really reimagine new business models for getting liquidity into the hands of business owners who need them. And so, yeah, I mean, I love Ghana. I chose Ghana as our market. I chose Ghana as our HQ, but I feel like we do often fall into this trap of one step forward and two steps back. In terms of the differences between PPT and OZE, they're very different. They're very complementary platforms, right? OZE is about helping you as a business owner, and the majority of our business owners are sole proprietors. So they are informal sector, or they might be registered and acting informal, or they might be not registered and acting very growth oriented, but this general umbrella of the micro and small business owner. We help them get their finances in order. You might be surprised if you went and asked like any business owner on the street in Accra, maybe 1 out of 10 can even tell you if their business is profitable. Maybe 1 out of 20 can tell you how much profits they're making. Because there's also a mix between multiple income streams and a mix between personal and business capital that makes it hard to just use kind of the look in my wallet, look in my pockets, look under my bed and see how much I'm earning approach. And so like what I always say, because I fall into this category too, nobody starts a business because they love accounting. Like no one's like, oh, let me start a business because I want to write journal entries. No. So it's not just about providing the tool, but actually helping the business owner understand the importance and bringing the time it takes for them to actually feel the benefit much shorter, right? Like if I keep records for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, it doesn't really make a difference. It's 6 months when I can see the trends that I start to value them. It's 1 year when I go to get a loan and I have enough financial data. It's 2 years when I try to get an equity investment and I can see how much I'm growing. And so we really are focusing on the behavior science and how you pull the incentives closer. An incentive could be something like you're working with PPT, you're trying to save for your retirement, and you don't even know how much profit your business is generating. So you don't have confidence to say, okay, this much I can take out and pay for myself as a salary, and this much I can take out and save to future-proof myself, right? To guard against old age poverty. So a product like PPT, People's Pensions Trust, and OZE actually fit well together because both of us are trying to reinforce the capacity of small business owners to build wealth for themselves and their communities.
So if I hear you well, Megan, you said that OZE and People Trust are very like complementary, but would you say that like working together or partner together is kind of the consequence of the Ghanaian fintech market structuration? Or that could be, you know, on the other side, is like partnering together is going to help you to advance your, you know, advance your business. In which way do you see that?
I would say both, right? Like we can only do things that drive value for our customers because our customers only keep using us if they feel the value that we're delivering. And the only way we grow is that happening. So we, I think, have a partnership mindset, kind of the nature of like who myself and my co-founder are as founders, and kind of our background as Peace Corps volunteers. You're taught when you come into a community to take an asset-based approach, right? So you might say, like, maybe someone in Luxembourg might picture a rural Ghanaian village and say, oh, if I got there, I'd say, oh, there's no electricity. The school is one classroom. There's no internet, right? But as a Peace Corps volunteer, you're trained to come in and see, oh, there's a really smart and motivated school teacher. And while we don't have electricity, we have wind power. So maybe we can make like, we have a lot of wind, we're on a hill, we can make wind power. And so that kind of asset-based approach to entering a new market leads you naturally to partnerships. And I think that's enhanced by Ghana, which I found it to be a very welcoming and collaborative culture. But everything we do has to have like a business purpose.
Okay, yeah, very clear. Thank you, Megan. Gayatri, I mean, I don't know if you're still with you. Do you hear us? Yeah, you hear?
If I may say something before Gayatri comes in.
Yes,
sure, go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there is a story I tell people all the time. There's a young man we met in Kumasi, and we asked him, can he contribute, say, $20 in a month, at the end of the month, towards his pension? And he said, no, I can't do $20 at the end of the month, but I'm ready to do $2 every day. So this is where some Ose comes in, because this young man is living by the day. He doesn't have data to understand how much money he can, because don't forget that the $2 a day, if you even take 20 days in a month, that is $40. But we were asking him to even do $20. And he said, I can't do $20 at the end of the month, but he can do $2 a day. So this is where it becomes complementary. And one of the things that we have observed is that because pension is a long-term investment, people start with all the enthusiasm. After a few years, they slow down because they are not really getting any immediate benefits. And one we have included in a savings portion where people can withdraw as a way of making them get it. But two, they need riders. And some of the riders are what we are talking about with Ose, where Ose comes in, they train some of our members. So it becomes a win-win situation. As they train our members get the skill set, the capacity to have good bookkeeping, to be able to know that I can even do more than I think I can do. Because one of the things I say is that the informal sector people have more money than they think they have because they live by the day. And therefore, when they have this skill, it's going to help them. The other side of it is that we then more or less, I can get people from Ose who are not registered on a pension scheme to register. Ose can also get people on my scheme who are not registered to be on this platform. So it is very, very complementary, and it is something that we look forward to doing next year. But and quickly, let me add that what you mentioned about the government announcing the budget yesterday was very terrible, because I'm sorry, I have to, because we are using a lot of mobile money, and then suddenly there's going to be a tax on mobile money. So if nothing is done about it, that would be a huge blow to us. The good thing is that the announcement has been made. The parliament will have to sit down and discuss before it is approved. I know the kind of noise that is being made, I believe something will be done about it.
Okay, thank you, thank you. In the audience, do you have, thank you for this update. We hope it's gonna be, yes, gonna be manageable for both of you. The audience, do you have any question? So since we are checking if there's question, do not hesitate to turn on your mic and to introduce yourself, your organization. No question?
Then Mia, I just wanted to follow up maybe also on this partnership that you had, Gayatri, with People Pension Trust, and if you could maybe say also a few words. So of course it's not FinTech and FinTech, but this is
Sure.
worldwide organization, but as you know well them,
So I think one of the main goals of our partnership with PTT was to see how we can increase exactly what Kofi is talking about, increase the frequency with which people contribute. and giving them options that are suitable to their life. So I think one of the things Kofi mentioned, we saw very clearly, which is that low-income people, and especially the farmer segment that PPT targets, they don't have liquidity that collects itself at the end of the month. The liquidity is available every day. And it's a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. So how do you make those payments so cost effective and easy to make that it's easy for the customer, but also it's cost effective for the organization, for the company. So I think we also used certain behavioral tactics to see that can we provide people with certain automatic savings kind of options where the money just gets swept off. Can we give people incentives to, kind of gamify some of this? So that was an interesting kind of angle we took, and we saw some interest increase, in uptake. And actually at that time, PPT had very distinct, I don't know, Kofi, what's the situation now, but at least 2 or 3 distinct customer segments. The farmers who are in rural Ghana. So that's like, they are together, but they're very far away from the city's operations of PPT. Then there are the sellers who sell in the markets of Accra, and they are very close to the city, a very tight bunch. And many of them can be reached in one day because they're all together and they're in the city. And then there's a third bunch, which is more digitally savvy, and they're doing a lot of their work digitally. So how do you serve these different segments, and how do you offset costs from one and the other so you make it really cheap for the farmers, but somehow so how do you come up with a pricing strategy? And then finally, what would actually, something that Kofi said, like, how do you incentivize people to think pensions are a good idea? Because when you're a low income person, insurance and savings just seem like it's not useful for me. My life is happening in such a daily and precarious way that I can't think about what will happen when I'm 60. So one thing we found was that, what do we like as more affluent customers with our pension? We like to be able to see a picture that shows us how our money is doing and how it might grow, some of these projections. So if I keep putting this money in, when I'm 55, I will have this much. So, we also talked about that, like, can we have the book that people keep entering in, that it was so precious for the low income, for PPT's customer? Is there a way to visualize that really creates a sense of commitment in the customer? And then being able to withdraw some of that money, because low income people's lives are very different from ours. The shocks look different. So even for a long-term pension that needs to be locked in, is there ways to kind of give them some flexibility? So this was all about tailoring to that customer base. Not easy. And it's not easy to see business value in that immediately. That's why the patient capital point was really important for an organization like PPT, where you won't see results in 1 year, 2 year. You need to have that kind of 8 to 10 year track. And if the company is strong and stable and driven by strong leadership, development funders need to trust in that more than we have in so far.
Thank you, Gayatri. So I think we are running, a bit late, and to leave people to go to be able to attend the plenary, the closing plenary. So just I would like to conclude with all of you, actually, to give you the final word for this conclusion. Just I would like you to give us one pragmatic. We have seen very concrete example, one pragmatic recommendation you would like to suggest to the microfinance, inclusive finance ecosystem, really to support fintech developing inclusive finance product. What would be the pragmatic recommendation you will give to all the expert, I will say, and all this inclusive finance ecosystem, which is not only fintech? Perhaps who take the first one? Quickly. Yes, go ahead, Gayatri, go ahead.
So very quickly, I think in our industry, the argument has become fintech or MFI. I think that's a wrong binary. We need to realize that we need both. We need the wisdom and the great learnings of the MFI sector, and we need to combine that with some of the efficiencies and some of the kind of value that digital brings. And it's definitely, we're not solving this problem in a binary way. We need to have a coordinated, systematic approach and where we take everybody along. Thanks.
Kofi?
Okay, so I'll pick it from where Gayatri. I think that we need to also accept. So for example, we want to even push the term Fintech, because a lot of time when we talk about Fintech, we leave out pension. We always look at savings, credits, and that's it. But if you are talking about financial inclusion, then we should look at pension. We should look at insurance. We should look at all these things. So I think going forward, the conversation should be that if you are talking about financial inclusion, then we should look at micro pension, especially MFI. If you look at micro pension, micro insurance, then the conversation can be good. Because for me, all these products are complementary. If you don't complement each other, for example, if I take a credit and I'm doing business and I don't have a pension, in my old age, I may not be able to do that business. What then happens? And old age, I say, is a clear and present danger. And so I think that the ecosystem should embrace pension and insurance very, very well.
Thank you. Megan?
I building again also off Gayatri's point, MFIs need to digitize. I don't think it's a binary fintech or MFI, but I think that MFIs need to digitize, and the best way to do it is through partnerships with fintech. The set of capabilities and resources it takes to build last mile financial services is very different than the skills and capabilities it takes to build scalable digital platforms. And so neither of us should try to do what the other is great at. We should try to be great together. And Manon, since you are the one of the founder and manager of the Catapult, which involve fintech and MFIs.
No, I think, I mean, for me, it's not like directly within the business, but what I've seen with all the fintech for the past 3 years, but also attending the African Microfinance Week in Rwanda, a bit in Ouagadougou, in Burkina Faso. I think exactly what Kofi said is you will not have financial inclusion by just focusing on one product or one other thing, but it's a kind of, lifelong journey. When you are considering someone that is excluded from the financial services, that he will be included if he has access to pension, if he has access to insurance, if he has access to loans, if he has access to payments. So that's, I think we do financial inclusion if we see at all the product and create, once again, collaboration between fintechs, between businesses, between MFIs, and be part of all of an ecosystem.
Thank you, Manon, for these last words, and many thanks, Mary, thanks to our panelists today. It was great to have you here in the panel to take and to be part of the European Microfinance Week. We hope all the participants, you enjoyed the session, and now we invite you to join the European Microfinance Week 2021 closing plenary, which is taking place right now, and already have a lovely weekend, and see you soon, I hope, on other webinar and other inclusive finance event. Bye-bye, everybody.